So there's all sorts of possibilities. Contingency is the way to make the quickest money in the shortest time. Let's go to page 8, onto the new LSAT. Note on page 8 that the test was changed on June 12, '89. We're in a all new format. I get all this pre-law advisor stuff, and I'll share this with you later on, but it's kind of amazing because they indicated in the pre-law advisor handouts from ETS that this might even be an experiment, that this might be a one-year experiment, and that they might change it again. And so who knows? But all you know is that tomorrow, or Monday rather, you're going to have this format. You're going to have logical reasoning, 45 minutes, 35 questions, analytical reasoning, 45 minutes, 30 questions, reading comp, 45 minutes, 35 questions, and then they're going to repeat one of those. The problem is that we don't know, we can't guess, we can't predict which one they're going to repeat. Obviously, if I was taking the test, I would hope that they would have repeated the reading comprehension section. I would have hoped that they would have done that, because that, I think, for most of us is the easiest section. I think the worst type of test possible is a test that will have 2 analytical reasonings. And some of you, like it or not, will have 2 analytical reasonings on Monday. The worst case then is to have analytical reasoning immediately, the first section, and look at the second section, another analytical reasoning. So that by the time you're on to the third section, you have such an intensive migraine that job at Denny's looks better and better. So consequently, there's all sorts of things that no one can prepare you for. It's just where you're sitting is going to determine what section repeats. And basically, they repeat every third. For instance, Mark is going to get perhaps 2 reading comp, and Mark again. And Mark here is going to get 2 analytical reasonings, and James is going to get 2 logical reasonings. Yes?
In all the tests I've taken, it's always been reading comp, arguments, and names.
Yeah, but those are the tests from the ETS, right?
Well, there's one from June '89. I don't know. I've done a whole bunch.
Right. But see, they never give you the repeated section.
Okay. What I ask is it always in that order?
No. That's just, no, it's not always in that order. When you take these tests, when you order, I assume you paid $5 per test. When you buy these tests, you buy the book of the test. They'll just give you the test minus that experimental section, the repeat section. And that could have come first, that could have come last.
The person sitting next to you on Monday may have their test may be in a different order than yours.
It will be in different order. That's the way it is. Every person has a different test in a sequence of 3. And there's a luck of where you're sitting. I mean, there's the test also. I mean, obviously some of you have taken this course when we offered it here a few months ago, and you're back again because now you're about to take the test. And we always encourage people to shop around for the best location. I think DU Law School is the best. The other choice is right here on campus, where you're going to be sitting on chairs like this for 4 hours. At DU, you have the tiered seating, and you have a little more comfortable environment. And I think it's the ideal. I think the proctors, I've had the proctors take this class, and the proctors, Paul Busey, and I've forgotten the lady's name, Lorraine something, are kind of laid back. And I think that's the best place to take the test. So again, I think, if you're not taking a test until fall, try to, when they ask you what selection, what place to take it at, emphasize you'd like to do it at DU Law School. And I think it's far better, Chris, than, and I assume, are you taking an engineering building at CU?
No, actually, Social Center, they don't operate at CU.
Oh, okay. Okay. Anybody ever take it up at engineering building? That's perhaps the worst location. But whatever, James, it's just, luck as to where you sit. Who knows what you're going to get. The total number of questions be here, which will be counted towards your score, will be approximately 103 scored sections. 3 of the sections will be graded, and the 1 repeat will not be graded. How can you tell, though? Chris, how do you think you can tell which of the, when you're taking the test Monday, which of the 4 sections is not going to be counted? You're going to get 2 logical reasoning, hypothetically. How do you know which one is not going to be counted?
The more difficult one.
Thank you so much, Chris. The one which is perceptibly more difficult is traditionally the one which is not counted. But you don't know that until you've taken the second section. I mean, once you've taken the first one, it seems real difficult. Boy, and then you take the second one, well, it seems a little easier. You better do a lot better in that second one. Because traditionally, the easier of the 2 is the one which is not counted. But again, you're not going to know that until after you've taken both of them. The scoring range, D, is going to be from 10, which is your lowest, to 48, which is your highest. And again, I've heard of at least one or two people who've gotten a 48. I've never had a 48 coming from this class, but I have had 47s and certainly 46s. And it's anticipated that the average score will be a 31. So again, if you get a 31 or more, I can guarantee you'll get into law school. But it might not be Lewis and Clark. It might not be even Gonzaga. It might be, as I said before, perhaps George Mason or Nova, or perhaps Cleveland State. And I think, James, the importance of law school is to go to the school, even though it's your fourth choice, even though you apply to Stanford, Harvard, Princeton, and CU, you only get into CU, go to CU, excel, and it's almost automatic. If you graduate, finish your first year class in the top 15%, it's almost automatic that you'll be able to transfer because there's so much attrition. There's so many people at the other schools who didn't make it, so there's all these spaces available. And so consequently, go to Cleveland State and transfer from there to George Mason or wherever your choice might be. Go to your second or third choice. Don't wait a year. There's nothing you can do in that year. Don't wait a year. Yes, James?
31's not going to get you into DU.
31 may if you have a high GPA, but generally DU is going to say, and I had a lady in our class at CU in Boulder a few years ago who I just had to stop because she worked in the admissions office as an undergrad, student help, and she had gotten a hold of Roy Romer's file. And, the allegations were things that I don't think I want to share now, but, apparently people don't necessarily, they say at CU you need a 37 and a 3.5. That's what they say. And they say at DU, essentially, that you're going to need about a 3.4 on the GPA and about, again, a 35, 2 points lower on the LSAT. But I know they're accepting people with lower scores, as well as, of course, higher scores. So, even though in these little statistical handouts that Chris has over there, it says that, that the average LSAT score was a 38 and the average GPA was a 3.9, and your scores are significantly less, that doesn't mean you shouldn't apply. The applicant pool might be different, and I think schools have a tendency of making themselves look very difficult. And maybe there's a lot of opportunity for people with lower criteria to get into those schools. So generally, again, CU is going to be about a 37 with a 3.5 GPA, and DU is going to be about a 3.4 GPA with a 35 in the LSAT. Generally, is that what Claudia told you? The nighttime programs are much easier to get into than daytime. If you have any choices, everybody, on your application, it says, will you go to night? Check it. That doesn't mean you're going to have to graduate in 4 years in the night program. That's going to enhance your chances of getting into law school, and after your 1 year night, you can transfer to the day. Vice versa, too. You can start in the day and go to night. But get it, if they have a choice, if they have two programs, go to the night program, or at least say that you would go to the night program because your chances of getting admitted are greater if you would accept a night program. Also, on page number 8, as I said before, page 8D, you're scoring from 10 to 48. There's no way that any course can guarantee people getting a 40 or a 35 in the LSAT, but nonetheless, I think that you all are reasonably certain of getting a 31, which is an average, and which will get you into law school, but again, which may not get into either law school in the state. We have two very good and very difficult law schools in the state. It's not as if we're in, Deborah, University of California, where you have Whittier, Pepperdine. Ed, you ever consider going to University or Pepperdine University out there in the ocean? Yeah. I had a good buddy of mine from Tehran go to University of, his name was the Sheikh. He went to Pepperdine University, and we still correspond. He had one room. He was living in one room, not even on the beach, but right off Pacific Coast Highway, and he's paying $900 a month for one room. And he went one room. He shares a bathroom with the family. So, Deborah, Pepperdine University. Deborah works for the Chief Justice of the State of Colorado, Judge Quinn. Let's give her a round of applause. Joseph Quinn is the Chief Justice of the State of Colorado. She has her future all paved for her. Now, we're already on page 9. Deborah, you want to get a book up here? We're talking about the question types and brief right here. Question types and brief. There you go. Yes, yeah, I'll give you those later. Question types and brief. Writing sample is something you're all going to take and something we're not going to spend a heck of a lot of time on because this, Trish, is a secondary criteria. It's going to be considered only if you're marginal. And again, you talk to Bob Hardaway, who at least used to be one chairperson or on the admissions committee at DU. He sent his wife to this class, and she always fed me things throughout the weekend saying, tell your class this and that. And he says, make sure all students do well in that writing sample. And then you talk to our good buddy Dan Vigil. Anybody talk to Dan up at CU? And Dan says, writing sample, is that on the test? It's difficult for me to believe that you have 4,000 applicants to law school and the admissions committee is going to read all the writing samples. But nonetheless, it can't hurt to do well. I'm sure the truth is somewhere between DU's approach to saying, do well, we're going to consider it, and CU's statement from Dan saying, is that on the test? Reading comprehension. Anybody talk to Dan Vigil? Chris, have you talked to Dan? Who wants to go to CU? Give Dan Vigil a call if you want to go to CU. See what he says. He'll give you a real candid opinion as to your chances. You just tell him what your GPA and LSAT are. Reading comprehension is also a good section, easy section rather. We're going to talk about that, hopefully get out of the way tonight. Analytical reasoning, we'll spend a lot of time on tomorrow. That's your diagrams. Again, Deborah, did you ever have introduction to logic classes, undergrad? Use this one book. And one book right here is like right